who's a business manager for Nutanix HCI business at New Wave Computing. We also have Ms. Bhagyashree, who's a systems engineer from Nutanix, who's going to walk us through a quick demo about the tool. And so all the participants will remain muted. If you have any audio video issues, kindly raise your hand on the Q&A panel. This session is scheduled to run for 45 minutes, starting with Arjun, followed by a demo from Ms. Bhagyashree, and we'll end with a Q&A session. And we'll be polling for questions during the session, and we request you to please send in your responses to help us keep the session lively. So now I'll hand over the session to speaker, Mr. Arjun, over to you.
Thanks, Kiran. Hi, very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arjun. I manage Nutanix as a business for my company, New Wave. And we've been associated with Nutanix for almost about 4 years now. And we always believe that this company is here to disrupt the way how things work, right? And they started by first disrupting the way IT works in the organization by traditionally eliminating the need for a SAN, introducing a hyper-converged environment. Because today Nutanix started their journey as the leaders of hyper-converged infrastructure solution, right? And over the years, they've evolved, and today they're offering enterprise cloud solutions which help customers build a multi-cloud platform, right? Catering and offering into multiple services of technology, be it from an infrastructure point of view or even from an endpoint delivery point of view, right? Today, what I'll be walking you through on one of the solutions called as Nutanix Frame, which is a desktop as a service offering, because this is an era where COVID-19 has put us in a situation where we have to be maximum productive, and also we need to know how to manage our environment by keeping your users working from home, right? So this is where Nutanix Frame comes in picture. And during this 20 minutes or 30 minutes presentation, where I walk you through about the technology, and I have Ms. Bhagyashree who will help us with a demo down the line, right? So before I begin, I would like to run a quick poll just to understand if you're sharing the mindshare with me. Are you able to see my screen? Yeah.
Yes, Arjun.
Kiran, over to you, Kiran. Could you run the poll?
Okay. Yeah. So here's the first poll, and the poll reads: are you facing bad user experience complaints with VPN solution? I would request all the participants to please give their votes to this poll. Okay, so I'm going to show the results. Let's move to the next poll, and the next poll reads: are you concerned about the secure access of your users' access to your enterprise applications? Right, I see. Okay. Yeah. Then I will move the last poll before beginning the webinar, which says, does it get easier to manage your users working from home? Okay. Okay, I think Arjun, almost 100% of the customers are saying it's somewhat easier to manage their users working from home.
Okay, so great. Thank you for that, Kiran.
Yeah, so over to you, Arjun.
Yeah, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, great. So Nutanix, so thank you everyone for the quick poll. Really appreciate your participation. So just to begin with, so Nutanix always has a culture to offer freedom to customers to choose what infrastructure they can run on, which cloud they can leverage the services from, and also from a desktop point of view, how easily you can set up a desktop as a service model by choosing different elements of infrastructure, choosing different elements of your authentication, your application, storage, and devices, right? Now, if you look closer, once again, yeah. So Nutanix Frame is an orchestration layer, right? Which basically has a brokering capability and an application launchpad. Now this is nothing but a HTML5 enabled services which is sitting on a public cloud, right? And when you subscribe for Frame, you get an account. Now, the best thing about this is it helps you choose how you can set up the account, right? These are the 5 steps where you can offer or build a desktop as a service platform for users within just few clicks, right? Now, let me walk you through step by step how you can set it up so that you truly understand what freedom means in terms of setting up a desktop as a service model, right? Because in Nutanix, it gives you option to choose what infrastructure you want to run on, be it AWS, Azure, or even GCP, or in-house Nutanix data center, or choose an authenticator. It could be your AD, your ADFS, your Google, Okta, etc. And choose how you want to run your application, be it persistent, non-persistent, Windows-based, Linux-based, applications of your choice, right? And storage. It gives you the capability to actually connect to any SaaS-based storage, be it your OneDrive, your Google Drive, Dropbox, or any storage which is sitting on premise, right? So it gives you the freedom and flexibility to connect that as well. And finally, the true power is in terms of delivering the application. So you can deliver the Windows or Linux-based desktop or an application through any device, right? All it requires is just a HTML5 based browser. That's it. So that's where a customer like you gets choice at every step to set up a desktop as a service with Frame, right? Now, understanding the platform today, like if you look, let me go step by step, right? So as you see that Nutanix here, I'm talking about the centermost piece, which is the orchestrating piece. Now, Xile lets you choose the infrastructure. So you can choose from a wide range of infrastructure services which are available on Azure or on AWS or even GCP, matter of fact. Because today you may have an environment which is running worldwide, right? Your users might be spread across the world or maybe spread across the country, and you want to give them access to their applications or to the desktops which is closest to them, right? Taking care of your latency and other elements. So that's from an infrastructure point of view. How do you cater to your users? Zyframe gives you a flexibility to provide you only, say for example, if you have any task-based users who don't require anything but just my, applications, some 3 or 4 applications. So he gets only application level, as a service. Or if you have a development environment where they need a desktop to be full-fledged given to them, that's where I can give a complete desktop, published to them, where they can use both, where they can have the complete Windows 10 or Linux desktop for them. And finally, this can be delivered as a service where today customers use I can have only as a application or a desktop as a service, or I can use it for any training and services. Like for example, Adobe today uses this platform to deliver only training to the users. Or I have an accounting software where today it only gives you as a SaaS-based model. So Nutanix Frame provides that kind of services as well, right? Because this is a platform where it leverages all the services of the cloud, right? It's not restricting you to only use what is available for you, right? It gives you a choice to choose whether you can run it from AWS, you can run it from Azure, or you can run it from your own in-house data center as well. And this control plane is what does the magic, and it sits out of cloud, right? And it's cloud native today. Similar to how if you are aware of Salesforce, how it works today, it's a similar concept and it's cloud based, right? Now, let me show you how or what is inside the frame control plane today. Now, frame control plane is my main tool, which has my identity management gateway, where it helps me choose, authenticate my users. I have my infrastructure as a service orchestrator, where I connect to my AWS, Azure, or GCP, and through that I'm able to create instances. Now, the workload manager is nothing but my sandbox, right, which allows me to create applications. It allows me to create what user profile, either it's applications or a desktop, right? Depending on what user they are and what application, whether it's Windows based or Linux based application. All of that is part of my workload manager. And then I have my broker and my launchpad, which work together and give me a simple UI for users to access that environment. Now, the moment I have to set up on-premise, right? Now, Nutanix supports, Frame supports on-premise if we are running a Nutanix on-premise environment. So it's a complete consolidated solution. The Frame, however, sits on the public cloud itself. It continues to sit there, right? Now, how the only difference here is I get something called as a cloud connector services, which actually integrates to my on-premise Nutanix environment. So with that, I can actually publish, applications or desktops sitting on my private cloud and or on from my public cloud, so that your users get, access to their application both from either on premise or on public cloud. So the choice is here, and the beauty is everything is managed through a single console, right? All of these services are managed at the back end through a single console itself. That's the simplicity what Frame does. Now, coming to authentication. Now, today Google, Frame to provides you its own authenticator, which is built in, right? If you don't want multi-factor, but you want custom, your users to just log in. I use my own identity access management tool, but say you have an existing AD, you have a Google or any SAML2 protocol, you want to enable multi-factor authentication. I support that as well. All I have to do is just authenticate it, select the option, and get going, right? Third, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of application, right? Now today, like I said, a user can get both my complete desktop as a application to be published, or only applications in my launchpad to be published, right? For my task users. So the user gets to experience both, right? And this is where I have my applications the way it is designed. Now, first thing what most of the users will do is first create a sandbox, right? From an admin, I decide who are the users. It could be task users, power users, mid management users, or a graphic intensive users, right? So the sandbox image helps me create, what application or launchpad needs to be decided for that particular profile, right? Once I've got that covered, then I create the applications. I download or upload the applications onto my sandbox. I also set a minimum or to a maximum production pool. Like for example, at any given point of time, I would at least have 1 or 2 VMs running. So basically 1 or 2 desktops or VDIs are always constantly connected, right? Or maximum, I can only connect up to say 100 users, not beyond that, right? So this is the setting which you can do from a admin standpoint. Now, once I've created the sandbox and I've created the production pool, then I have something called as launchpads. Now, launchpads is where it gets interesting, because as a user, he gets to experience either only applications published to him, or he gets to experience desktops published to him, or he gets to experience both, right? That's completely up to the admin to provide that particular access to the user, both applications from a applications access or only desktop access, which we'll cover in the demo, right? And obviously this follows, say some databases, if you want to create some file servers which you want to create within the environment, I have utility services available as well, which allows me to connect. So all of this is inside the Frame console itself. Now, if you want to connect to your on-premise environment, so with Nutanix Frame, we actually can use VPN connectivity, connect or integrate to your on-premise setup, or any say any other cloud services which you're availing today. We create an IPsec VPN tunnel there as well, and we provide access to that particular application, right? So that's from a connectivity point, and giving you a choice again in terms of if you want to have a persistent virtual machines to be created or non-persistent machines to be created, right? Both are possible from a Frame point of view, and it supports both Windows or Linux-based platform, right? Now, the beauty of Frame is, like I mentioned earlier, today I can provide users to join without any domain name, right? No other solution offers to enable users to join without any domain name. But with Frame, I can do that as well. It gives me a wide variety of storage options where today, like I mentioned, I can integrate to my cloud. If I'm a Office 365 user, I can integrate my OneDrive. If I'm a G Suite user, I can integrate my Dropbox, Google Drive, right? Or I have a Dropbox or Box as a service which is still available with me from a SaaS-based platform. I can integrate to that. So all of this is purely in the control of your administrator. Now the user gets a choice, but the administrator provides that security and policy, allowing them or not allowing them to store data on these platforms, right? So that's where the control factor comes in picture. And the final step is delivering the desktop on an application. Now, Nutanix uses a protocol called as H.64, which is very familiar to you because today you would have used. I'm sure most of you would have used YouTube or Netflix, like the streaming protocols. Now, if you go and select a video on YouTube, you see that it's very WAN optimized, right? If you're having a very good bandwidth, you get to enjoy the best of the best quality videos, right? But the moment the internet connectivity drops and the network is very haphazard, you realize that the image or the video starts pixelating because it suddenly drops from maybe 4K to just 144 pixel, right? But it's still connected. You're still listening to music or maybe listening to the audio while the video is still pixelated, right? That's the H.264 protocol which actually kicks in and it gives you that kind of experience. And the beauty here is any device can be used to access your application or desktop securely because all it does is I require a device which supports HTML5 based browser. You could have a MacBook, you can have a Windows device, you could have a tab or an iPad connected from your users to use the application. All they require is a HTML5 based browser. That's it, right? So that's how easy it is to actually deliver these application on a desktop for you, right? So the licensing of Frame is very easy and simple. Depending on how your users are, if it's a development environment, then we always recommend you to use a named user platform if they're working on one shift. If you have multiple shift, then I can also design a concurrent based user license as well, right? So these are the two licensing models where we can supply Frame for you, right? Now, since we always believe the proof is in the pudding and the taste is the best when you eat it, right? I have Ms. Bhagyashree from Nutanix, who's a systems engineer, and she's an evangelist on Frame. So I would want her to cover the session for the next 20 minutes, right? Bhagyashree, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Arjun. So I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, Bhagesh, we can.
Afternoon, everyone. So I have logged in as a Frame admin user, and if you can just see this, so frame.nutanix.com is the URL which is generated for my company. So like Arjun explained the steps of how we set up Frame. Ideally, when we set up initial account for you, so we would be generating a custom URL based on your company name or whatever you provide and whatever URL that you wish to have, and that URL will be given to your end users. So your end users will use that URL to log in your Frame media environment, and based on what security you have provided, if you've provided with the multi-factor authentication using some third-party IDP provider, they will just key in their credentials, they'll authenticate themselves, and they will get their respective launchpads. So I'll just explain you on the way what launchpad means in when you have to configure it. So like Arjun explained, so we can create multiple launchpads. So you can see Frame is a solution where you can actually give granular level of access to your users. So you can just, for example, there could be certain users where they are contractors. They don't want to access everything in your environment. They just need to come in, work on certain applications and leave. So at that point of time, you can just give them the applications that they need to work on. So that is where you can actually create bifurcation between the users as well. So to start with the demo, so this is the place where when I log in, I can see the complete admin console for me. And as and when we progress, you see that you don't require any VDI expertise to work on Frame. It's quite self-explanatory, and it is just one-time setup at the very start. You just set up the complete account, you create the gold image, you add the users, and from then on, you will log in into admin console only if you have to add certain number of users or if you just want to roll out a new application. So it's that simple. So if you just look at the summary, currently this environment is hosted on AWS cloud and the data center is in Mumbai. So this page will show me the account details along with the geography where my data center is located. So you as a customer have the complete choice to select your own public service provider. Plus, you can also choose which data center you want to host the Frame environment on. So currently I've chosen a West region, so I've hosted it on Mumbai data center. And when your users are connected to your sessions, so you can see a quick view of which users are connected currently. So this is a demo environment, and at this point of time, I don't see any user connected over here. So this is about how your account would look like. Now, when it comes to Sandbox, so this is the place where you would actually be installing all of your applications that your end users would be accessing. So Sandbox is nothing but it is a virtual machine itself, and you can see where is it hosted currently in Mumbai, and this is the virtual machine type. Since it's on AWS, I see that I have the option of Air 8GB or Air 4GB. So depending on the public service provider, so you can just get the instances for you. Now, if you are deploying it on premise, so you have the complete choice of customizing it as well. So you can have a instance of one CPU with 4GB RAM, or you can have I mean, it's complete choice up to you when it comes to on-premise. But when you're on public cloud, so you have to take the instances that are available. Now, since this is a master image, so obviously you need to protect this image because there are times when you install new applications, it could corrupt your existing sandbox. So at any point of time, whenever you create a new sandbox, or whenever you install a new application and close the session, automatically Nutanix Frame is going to take a backup of it. So here are the backups that are created. And at any point of time you want to restore that backup, we can restore it as well. Now, suppose you are concerned and you want to take a backup manually, and you don't want to rely on software. You can take a manual backup as well for your just for your safety. And also, if you just see, there are solutions where obviously when a software is released, you need to upgrade your existing software, right? But when it comes to Frame, it's all auto upgrade. So in Nutanix, we don't let you do any manual upgrades. All you need to do is just do one-click upgrades. Similarly, here you can see the current version is 7.18. And how can we do this? So how can we, upgrade the Frame environment, right? So this is a sandbox. So whenever I start a session, right, it automatically looks for the available Frame versions. Now, if you just power it on, it will just go fetch the current Frame version, upgrade the Frame software, and then give you a session. And this is all without your intervention. So it upgrades the Frame versions also automatically. Now, whatever applications you have installed within the sandbox can be seen on the right hand side. Now, if you just look, all of these applications are installed within the sandbox. And if I want to do anything with these applications, I can do it on the fly from the right hand side itself. If I just want to uninstall it from my sandbox, I just click on delete. And if I just want to rename it, I can rename it as well. So whatever to be done with sandbox can be done from this console. Now, tomorrow, your users may need access to some new applications. So ideally, if you just look at the traditional way how the VDI is set up, they will have to take a downtime, they will have to install the new application, and then the users will not have access for that certain period of time, and then they will be able to log in once the session is live. So here, it's very simple. We don't follow all those methods. For us, it's very simple. We just power it, this sandbox, install the new application, and just click on publish. It is available to the end users on fly. So there is no downtime at all. So you can roll out applications very quickly. So Arjun talked about utility servers also, where you can add servers which your users may require. For example, certain applications rely on licensed servers, or you may want to add a backup or a file server to your frame environment. So those servers could be added from the utility server box. Okay. Now comes the place where I was talking about you can give launchpads to multiple users. So it's a granular level access that you can give. So I'll just show you how easy it is to create a launchpad. For example, I just click on add launchpad, and I will just name it a browser launchpad. Now I want to give this launchpad to users who are outside my company and still working for me, like for example, contractors, and I just want to give them browser access, nothing more than that. So I'll just click on add launchpad. And here, when it comes to instance pool, right? So I have the option to give them either Air 4GB or Air 8GB. Both options are available. I may just select Air 4GB. I'll show you where this comes into picture, where this option is actually making sense when it comes to the access. And I can select the background image that I want to give to my desktop. So when I come to my right hand side, I can see what applications I need to give to my end users. So where is this being fetched from? So remember, in Sandbox, we have installed the applications, and those applications are visible over here. Now, since I said I just want to give them browser access, I'll just go ahead, enable Google Chrome. I may enable Opera browser. And if you just want to enable some other applications, you can do that. And this can be changed at any point of time later also. So today you just give them browser access. Tomorrow they may come and ask you for some other application access. You can do that. Now I just click on save. So it has created a launchpad wherein the users can access only the respective browsers. Now I'll just show you how we can add a complete desktop as well. So now if you want to give this desktops to your engineering or a developer team, so obviously they need access to all of your applications. So you just click on add launchpad, click on desktop, and give the complete desktop to them. So you just give say add launchpad. So this will create the complete desktop, and whenever the user logs in into this launchpad, you will see all the start buttons, the taskbar, all whatever application is there within the sandbox. So when it comes to users, so we said that you have the complete freedom to choose with what security identity provider you want to go with. So if you just see currently, we have enabled basic username and password for end users. Or if you want to enable Google authentication, you can just enable it. Or if you want to add any Active Directory, so you can even use your current on-premise Active Directory to authenticate your users. So you will just go to SAML to providers, add the respective credentials. You just go to add SAML to provider. So you will provide the application ID along with the URL of your Active Directory. So all these settings could be added from here. So now once you have created this, so you can always go to SAML to permissions and give permissions what you want to give to your end users. So I just click on add permission. So now I will select. So I have just created two groups. So I can select any of the group and I can just say what access I want to give them. So if I say that allow access always, that means it will just give access to whoever is within that group. But if I want to say some certain conditions where I want to see that if user meets certain conditions, only then he can log in and provide tasks. So I'll just say when all conditions are met, and this is a condition based permission what you would give. So I would select what role. So like I said, either we can have a launchpad user on an account administrator. So remember, launchpad user is nothing but where we created multiple launchpads. So one launchpad we created with a browser access and one launchpad with a complete desktop access. So when you click on launchpad user, now I can exactly select which launchpad user I want to go with. So I say that I have created a browser launchpad. So I just go to the browser launchpad and click on add. So this will be satisfied when any user that belongs to the Nutanix demo group and is trying to access the launchpad in the browser and the condition that I specified, only that user will be given access to my frame VDI environment. So this is about just how you are configuring your users and how you want to give them access to your launchpads. Now, when you're running a frame on public cloud, so you have to concentrate on how you want to reserve the capacity, how you want to deal with optimizing the capacity. So at that point of time, so you can just see there is Air 4GB and Air 8GB instance available. So you can define those parameters for both the instances. Now, if you just see the default capacity, minimum number of instances, we have specified it as 0. So when we specify it at 0, that means I am not powering on any virtual machine unnecessarily uh, above and beyond this time. So when I say maximum number of instances is 5, that means at any point of time, I just want 5 virtual machines to be powered on. Also, I will specify the time from when to when I want it to be powered on and at what day of the week. So this makes my task easier in terms of optimizing my cloud resources. Okay? So when it comes to analytics, obviously, since you have built a frame environment, you need to understand how you want to analyze the frame environment. So you want to know how the usage is, if you really want to increase the number of users, or you want to see if you want to increase the disk capacity. So when I come to the sessions and just look at the sessions graph, I can see there are total of 111 sessions. Okay. And if I just see the graph, it has peaked at around 6th of May. That means on 6th of May, there are a lot of sessions connected. So you can understand on which day there's a lot of session being consumed. For it makes sense to companies such as banking or certain pharmaceutical, where they actually see that there is a peak at certain point of time. So they can optimize their resources accordingly and reserve the instances. And average session time is 198 minutes. And this is average distance from server. So when you say average distance from server, so I said it is hosted in Mumbai data center, and this shows me that I'm so many miles far away from where the actual frame environment is hosted. So when I go to the usage, this will show me a granular level of hourly usage of my sessions. So you can see there's a total of 1071 hours that I have consumed the sessions of. And in terms of disk usage, I can see that how much of disk is consumed in a graphical manner. And if you just see again, it has peaked on the 6th of May, wherein I have consumed around 29,405 of GB of space. That means 6th May was a very crucial period when there is a spike in the number of sessions and a spike in number of GB consumed as well. Now the elasticity graph shows me the current active instances, active sessions, if any, the minimum settings, the buffer settings, the actual capacity, and the maximum settings. So remember, these settings were configured in the capacity, and this will show me a graph of how those virtual machines are consumed. Now, if you want to also look at the user activity, so I can just go here and I can see that currently I have logged in. So it shows me the access date and there are multiple users logged in. So I can actually monitor who has logged in at what time, how much. So if I want to go deep into how they have consumed the sessions, so I can just go to activity. So in activity, I can see the complete audit trail. So I can see that I created launchpads. I also updated certain launchpads. And there's a person who has mounted some storage to some virtual machine. So you can actually keep a track of who is accessing your environment and what operations are being carried out. Now, when I go to session trail, I can see how many sessions have been taken per day, and I can also, so I had taken a session some time ago. So I had taken that session only for 5 minutes. So if I just hover the start time, so I can exactly see what time I started the session and ended at what time. And the duration was for just 5 minutes. And I had accessed a production instance. So if someone is trying to access your sandbox, so you will know exactly who was the last person who accessed your sandbox. For example, if something gets corrupted in your sandbox, you know whom you should hold account for, right? So that gives you complete session trail. And then we have notification center. So in notification center, you can see all the tasks that are carried out right from when your setup was done. And if you go to notifications, this is just going to give you a search based access. For example, I can just go here. I can, if there is any error, if I want to see if there is any notification related to error, I'll just click on error. And if anything related to authentication failure, I can just click on it. So currently I've not gone through any such issues in my environment, so I'm not getting any notification errors as such. Now, the main is when it comes to settings, right? So whatever Arjun spoke of, how we can enable security at the user end and how we can enable the quick integrations for the admins. So this is where we carry out the general settings. So this is where we enable quick publish. So quick publish is nothing but, so whenever you enable quick publish, so in the sandbox, so you will see a button that appears here. So whenever you click on publish, it is going to publish certain instances. And those instances will be specified over here in the capacity. So you have specified maximum of 5 instances. So whenever you click on publish, it will create 5 instances instantly. So you will just enable that quick publish button here. And if you want to enable some custom banners, so whenever the user logs in and certain companies have policies that they need to display on the VDI desktop, so you can enable those banners here as well. Now, when it comes to integration with storage, you can just have one-click integrations here. You can just enable Google Drive, Box, or Dropbox or OneDrive with just one simple click. And when it comes to end security features, so you want, since the user is using his own personal laptop to access VDI, obviously you want to maintain the security where he should not be able to copy the data from his personal laptop to the VDI or vice versa. So you can disable that. So you can disable either local to remote or remote to local, both the ways. You can even disable app switching or downloads, uploads, or print. So whatever you think the user is not supposed to do, you can just disable it from the feature section. Now to further optimize the usage, you can just specify the time limits for the user as well. If the user is inactive for a certain amount of time, you can log him out of the session. So you will save on the spend on your public cloud, because every powered on virtual machine is consuming $1. And also when it comes to network settings, so this is a very key thing in Nutanix, right? Since everyone is connecting from home, everyone has some bandwidth issues. So we also face a lot of bandwidth issues when our Wi-Fi is down or we have to connect through hotspot. So if you just see, we have a tweakable network setting. It just works like your YouTube. So you in YouTube, if you just see that you are unable to see a video, you would just switch over to a lower resolution, and the video gets going, right? Similarly, the user has the option to lower the settings. He can just change to a low resolution and keep connected to your VDA and keep the work going instead of getting disconnected. So that is available. And if you don't want the user to tamper with network, you can just disable. So only if it is enabled, the user will be able to change the settings. So networking is when you want to connect something on-premise, but you're using instances on public cloud, so we can enable custom VPC as well. Now, when it comes to availability zones, at the very first I showed you in the summary where I've chosen Mumbai data center where it's a west zone. Similarly, you can use any availability zone, so wherever you're trying to take access. And when it comes to profiles, right? So here in Nutanix, it is very flexible for you to choose which type of VDI you want to go with. So you can go with persistent VDIs, non-persistent VDIs, plus there's a third option where you can go with non-persistent VDIs along with enterprise profiles. So that's a very key thing, because when you have enterprise profiles enabled, you have the freedom to use non-persistent VDIs. So here you're going to save on cost. Plus, your management becomes very easy. What exactly enterprise profile is? You just add a disk to your VDI whenever the user starts the session. The user works on the session and stores all of his data in that disk, centralized disk. And when he logs off, the disk is again taken off from the VDI, untagged from the virtual machine in short. So this lets you manage your storage efficiently. So you can take backup of that disk. You can just, if the user loses all of his data or if something goes wrong, you can always restore that backup from disk. So that makes your management very easy. Now, when I just go to the status, I can see what the servers I have, how many instances are there. And when I go to the active sessions, if there's anyone logged in, so currently there's a person logged in with the name Swapnil. So I can see what instance type he's using. So currently he's working on the sandbox. So all these details are there. So this is all we have from the admin console. So if you're an admin, your first task would be just to set up the account. We will just help you with it. And in the sandbox, you would just install all the applications that you want your end users to access. And then if you have any utility servers, you will just integrate it here. And then you will just create launchpads based on what users require what access and tag it to your users and give it to them. So that's all you would do for one time when you are a admin. Now let me show you how the console looks for an end user. So I've already opened the VDI. So this is, I've logged into the frame VDI. And if you just see, I'll start from the settings page. So I can see what options I have. And like I said, we can always switch to a lower quality. So I have the option of just switching over to a lower quality as well. Now, here I can see what is the bandwidth I'm getting. So I have connected this VDI to a very far off data center because I just wanted to show you many more features of the VDI. So if you just see the bandwidth, it just acts like your mobile network. So currently I see 3, that means it's an average bandwidth I'm getting. And at the right hand side, it's the millisecond round trip latency that I see. So it's 246. So that's pretty high because anyways, I've connected to a far off data center. So this is a complete round trip latency. And with Nutanix, you can tolerate up to 900 millisecond of latency as well. So, I mean, you can be connected to your desktop, but you would not lose anything on working on your desktops. So, ideally, most other solutions will just disconnect abruptly. So that is not the case with Nutanix Frame. So you can still be connected with a 900 millisecond delay as well. So here I can see the time. So I have kept this VDI on for 32 minutes. And this is the maximum session time that I have been assigned the VDI for. So I can just use it for around 12 hours, but I've consumed up to 32 minutes till now. So I can also go to the statistics. For example, if you see the session statistics, it shows me 1 kbps. That means I'm not working anything. I'm not working on my VDI at all. That's the reason it's showing me 1 kbps. But if I just start carrying out certain tasks, it will show me what's the KB I've been consuming. So if I just start working on applications, you can see exactly how much of consumption is going through. Now, I have been given access to Dropbox, Google Drive, as well as OneDrive. So these are the drives available to me. Now, me as a user, if I just want to maximize my screen, I don't want to see my personal laptop. I just maximize my screen, and this just works like a company laptop, right? A company workstation, wherein I just don't understand the difference between my own personal laptop and the VDM. It's a complete workstation for me. So I'll show you a few features. So if I just go to the File Explorer, so I have upload features. So I can just, if I want to upload something from my personal laptop to my VDI, I can just upload it or download it from here. It's just a drag and drop for us. So I'll just open a browser and I have just played some video over here. So let me play that. So this is, if you just see, it's a very high latency, but I don't see any lag over here. But suppose if I'm seeing some lag, I want to optimize this. So I can always just go to my settings. I can just switch to a low quality mode and just click on apply. Okay. I can do that, or And if I still don't get a better display, I can again go back to settings and I can enable grayscale and click on apply. So everything will be black and white for me. So there's nothing colored. So that will save a lot on my bandwidth as well. So I can work faster with no color and all, just a black and white background. And I'll just revert back the setting. Click on apply. So that will change it to color. And also when it comes to printing, so you can give direct print from the VDI itself. So what it does is it makes a PDF of whatever you want to print and saves it on your local computer. And from there you can print to any printer you're connected to. So that's about the complete frame VDI what we have. So that's how we access from an end user perspective. And from an admin perspective, it's just a half a day task to completely set up the environment. Okay. Over to you, Arjun. I'm done with my demo.
Thank you, Bhagyashree.
Yeah, thank you.
So team, just before I share my screen again, I hope it was a very useful session and you were able to understand how easy it was to actually set up your frame setup, right? Now, can I just confirm if you're able to see my screen?
Yeah, Arjun, we can see your screen.
Okay, great, thanks. So just to summarize, now we realize that how easy and simply, I mean, with just a few simple steps, Bhagyashree was able to create a VDI or desktop as as a service by just choosing what infrastructure, authorizing with just few clicks, the applications which she wants to publish for the users, and what kind of storage. I think OneDrive or Google Drive was what was selected, and obviously finally the delivery. She showed how, from an end user point of view, it's easy for a user to just access his launchpad, which could be a complete desktop, or access only the application launchpad, right? So that's how easy it is to set up a frame session. And from a management point of view, you saw how easy and simple it was to actually see who's online, what are the settings you can do, how you can actually restrict the users by setting policies like who can copy paste, who can download or upload, uh, and also from any utility servers to be created, right? You can select all of that, right? That's how easy and simple frame does. Now, just to to walk you through one of the use case, right? Autodesk is one of the biggest user of Nutanix today, because what Autodesk does is they actually have the yearly event or a conference where nearly they have about thousands of customers who come be part of it to explore how Autodesk works. So it's called Autodesk University, right? Where they bring in their own systems, or Autodesk has to set up systems for them, which requires about 600 hours of labor work, right? So that's where Nutanix frames come in picture, and they were able to set it up so easily, allowing the users to bring their devices or allowing Autodesk University to provide devices, and the entire platform is completely delivered as a service, right? They would just get a browser with a URL, a user ID password, and they're good to go. That is how easy it was for them, which saved them a lot of time, right? So that's one of the biggest use case from for Frame. Some of the other users who are notable customers who are using Frame today, Adobe uses about 10,000 users, providing training on their software. Ansys is another customer who for design to purpose, they provide the software as well on top of Nutanix, right? And there are other customers predominantly into design, education. So Jostyn is a publication company which also provides multiple universities to a platform to actually design their yearbooks, right? So that's also possible to us. And Multiview, right, is a financial software company which actually provides the financial services on Frame to the thousands of customers, right? So all these customers have their own unique use cases, which is built on top of Frame, right? And that is running across multi-cloud. So what next for customers like you? So if you're interested today, we can help you, give you a test drive. Like for example, there's fra.me/test drive, which allows you to actually do use Frame for about 2 hours. Or if you want to, have a hands-on experience do a demo, use the product to your use case specific, we can help you set up a demo unit as well. So feel free to reach out to as little bit about the company. So we are a edge, core, and cloud company. We offer solutions across these three portfolios, carrying end-to-end IT solution services. Right? We are a 20 years plus company, catering to about 1,500 customers till date. We are predominantly operating across Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Kochi. Just to give you a visibility into what we offer today, we offer transformation solutions. Like one of the solutions is workplace transformation, which involves your endpoint devices, managing the endpoint devices, providing application desktops to the endpoints, right? And obviously securing those applications along with it. Then we have IT transformation, which is related to your core data center, building a private cloud, building a public cloud, helping you create a hybrid environment, or completely disrupt how you are operating today and build a new platform with HCI coming in, right? Security transformation is where we are taking care of your perimeter firewall. We give you complete visibility of your north-south traffic, and we go slightly beyond. Also give you visibility of your east-west as well. So we cover the security as well. And finally, today, automation is another key piece where a lot of customers are looking into bringing bots, automating the mundane tasks, right, and making the efficiency of those particular tasks. And the technology that we partner are from Dell EMC, Lenovo, Nutanix, Fortinet, and Automation Anywhere, right? Feel free to reach out to us. And before I hand it over to Kiran, just one thing, I would urge you to try out the demo for Frame, because like we showed us the demo, we try out trial period for Frame. Like we showed in the demo, it's as simple as that to also set up a trial account. So I would urge you to please feel free to contact me, or we'll reach out to you after this session. Now, before we conclude, a quick poll. Kiran, over to you.
Thanks, Arjun. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so sorry, just to add a few things. Thanks, Arjun, for that. So my name is Ajit, and I'm the director of technology at New Wave. And I just thought, I thought it was important to share with you some of the experiences that we've had over these last 2.5 months with customers such as yours, right? A lot of customers got caught on a back foot in terms of being able to enable their remote workforce, because they were used to enabling 20 to 30% of their workforce to work from anywhere or work from home, but overnight literally it became the 100% of the workforce that had to come in. So a lot of them initially went with providing VPN accesses, right? That's one way that they were trying to connect people on board, and I'm sure it's worked for some organizations, and for some organizations it's not worked, right? It's been more like a stopgap for them. And why is that? Number one, of course, is small thing. There's a cost of a license that had to be added on overnight, right? Some of them, their edge firewalls did not have the VPN session tolerable capability, so some of them had to upgrade that. But then we had a problem because they did not have. There were no supplies going on at that point in time, right? But for some of the organizations, the VPN served as a good stopgap. Later on, they're realizing that that kind of access led to other problems. Like one of the customers shared with us saying that, I have my people doing a VPN from home, but they're doing an RDP to their desktops in the office, which means I've got to keep it on and I've got to keep power and cooling. I have to have somebody there, right? That's something that they want to get away from. Stopgap, yes, but for the long term, they felt that was not right, right? We had another engineering company, not engineering, it was actually more of a DTP company. They were doing a lot of DTP work, and he had to overnight again, did the same thing, VPN access, RDP client in. But he says his users were really struggling with the experience that they were having, because they managed to rent a few laptops and give it to them to work from home. And these guys were not at all comfortable with the, working with mouse and trackpad and things like that, and the experience they were getting over RDP. So that's one question, that's one white elephant in the room saying, we are okay with VPN, remote client activated, we are going. Security wise, not the best thing to do. Experience wise, not the best thing to do. And from an RDP point of view, not the best protocol to use on a WAN, because you've seen how, for example, frames we can actually calibrate the bandwidth and continue to work on, which was the other problem another engineering company had, saying that some of our people don't have good broadband access from home. So the experience was a problem there, right? So I want to just address this whole VPN might work for few people. from a security perspective, unless you've dotted the i's and crossed the t on security from VPN, it works for a lot of use cases. But in the long run, people are not very comfortable with that, right? So that's so if you've looked at what Frames is doing for you, very very simply, first and foremost is that we all have to remember on the call that this virus is going to run through the country, right? So I anticipate for the next 12 months at least, we're going to deal with coming in waves. Maybe there's a resurgence of this again. We'll have to go back to work from home, 33% on 67% back office. So we're not going to get away with this, right? So this has to be a very solid, rock solid setup that has to be there, right? And more importantly is that in Frames there is no hardware to be ordered, so there is no design discussions for 3 weeks, hardware to be ordered for 6 weeks, implementation for 2 weeks, and it's literally 2 months since you see somebody beginning to log on VDI. It's nothing. It's going to take a half a day to get things going, right? That's the first thing you need to know. Number two, of course, is then it's multi-cloud, right? So if you have an AWS account or you have an Azure account, or if you have both and you want to sort of some people are also looking at their BCPs. Interestingly, one customer was saying, we always do BCP planning, but we do BCP planning for floods, and one of our offices goes down. Whoever thought the entire world goes for a toss, right? So they are now beginning to look at what if scenarios, and they are also trying to sort of de-risk their whole setups. So a gentleman was telling me that they have offices around the world, and they are planning to take, for example, the US and Europe. They want to treat that as one block, put them on Azure on that side because they have a large Azure account running. They were 90% on Azure, but they are now de-risking it by having that workloads being moved across different clouds. The same thing is what actually Frames in a way beautifully ties into that, because through that one orchestration platform, if your organization also wishes to de-risk, you can have a portion of the workload sitting on the AWS account, portion of the workload sitting in Azure, and all being managed from that one single screen, right? The other nice thing about Frames, Arjun talked about that, is that you could be domain joined and not domain joined machines. Both of them can come on and access Frames, not a problem at all, right? So I think at the end of the day, you will have to try this out, right? And we are urging you to try it. There is a 14-day trial. Take your particular use case to see if it makes sense, because once you have these virtual desktop set up either on Amazon or Azure of your choice, remember the endpoint is no more the problem anymore. You don't have to try and secure the endpoint here, because all I need is a browser to access my virtual desktop, which is secure from there on into your premise, right? And at the end of the day, we're all on HTTP traffic, so that's how simple that is. So that's just my quick sort of takeaway from some experiences of organizations who are moving away from this VPN access, setting up these virtual desktop environments. Number two, we had that engineering company I spoke about, who was very happy because some of his users, and when we did the pilot, their broadband dongles were very very low, so they were able to calibrate those sessions and allow those users also to come in. And three is, if you don't like it, switch it off. You're not lost hardware, you've not lost storage, nothing, because that whole thing is being managed there, right? And that's the power of this solution as well. So I just thought I'd leave you with that summary, because I think in this date and time, these technologies which can allow secure remote work from home are coming to the forefront. We have a number of pilots running right now. A lot of customers have said, when I come out of June, we want to take this and productionize it. But there are currently a lot of parallel POCs running in the country. So I would urge you to take up that offer, which Arjun had popped up on the screen. 14 days, free of cost. The Nutanix and our team will get you going. You must try it out, because who knows when you're going to, we all feel that for the next 3 to 4 months, we'll have this window of opportunity to get things right. Because I think the surge in India is going to go up in maybe October or November. There will be a lockdown again. And when you get onto that scenario, you shouldn't be caught on a back foot again, right? So try us out right now. Try out your use cases, see if it works. And also we support a lot of GPU related VMs as well. So it's not only for regular knowledge worker work here, right? So we do support GPU enabled, NVIDIA enabled VMs that we've done for some of the design companies. Right, so I'll just conclude here. Back to you, Arjun.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
So like you said, so we're open. So please feel free to reach out to us to set up the trial account for you, right? So thank you. And moving on to poll, Kiran.
Right. Thank you so much, Arjun. Before we open up for a Q&A, I would like to run last two polls for you. And the first poll reads this: are you interested in desktop as a service offering from any public cloud? I see close to about 10 people are there on board, and I see just one vote coming in. I would request all of others to choose either one of the options that we have there. Yeah. So I'll keep this poll open for another 5 to 10 seconds, and then we will move for the last poll of the webinar.
We can move forward. Yeah.
Right. So the last poll of the webinar is, did you find this session was a productive use of your time? Basically, this was a very informative, this can be an informative webinar for you. If you feel that, you can, yeah. Right. So I'll open this poll for another 5 seconds.
That's fine.
Right. Okay, so we are open for a Q&A now. I'm going to unmute all of you, or you can still use your Q&A panel to ask your questions to our speakers.
So Arjun, there was a question on terms of customers ask, can I use my on-premise NAS storage to store user data?
Yes. So the answer is yes. You can connect your NAS storage to Nutanix Frame or VPN, and you can store the data.
Okay. The other question is Nutanix providing the virtual machines, or we have to go to Azure / AWS?
So Nutanix offers both. If you feel that you want the entire environment to be managed and provided by Nutanix, Nutanix will work at the back end with AWS or Azure and provided you a consolidated solution. Or you can bring your own public cloud to it. But the instances which are created on the public cloud will be managed through Prism. Through Frame.
Okay. Another question that's come is, what is the minimum bandwidth you recommend for a knowledge worker usage?
Okay, so minimum bandwidth for a knowledge worker would vary between 1 Mbps to 5 Mbps, but at the lowest network requirement for any connectivity is between 100 kbps to 120 kbps for the VDI to stay on, for the user to be connected and do the work.
Okay. What are the latency requirements? That's the follow-up question.
Okay, so latency, like Bhagyashree highlighted, I can continue working with latency of up to 900 milliseconds on Nutanix Frame, right? So it's purely dependent on where you host your environment. So depending on that, we can choose to reduce your latency. Like one of the examples today was, I think, about showing nearly 200 to 600 milliseconds, right? Depending on the usage. So we can set it up accordingly. But the maximum is 900 milliseconds. After that, there's a disconnection.
Okay, that's all the questions. So back to you, Kiran. We can close. I think we are 4 minutes overdue.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, Ajit, sir. Yeah. So thank you so much, Bhagyashree, for joining us today and giving our customers a demo on the frame. And also thank you so much, Arjun, for such a wonderful session today. And of course, thank you all the participants for joining us today and making this webinar a successful one. So shortly you will receive a thank you email from me with a short link to take a brief survey or the feedback on today's webinar topic. Please take some time out and give your feedback so that we can respond to you suitably post this webinar. And if you wish to access a recording version of this webinar, you can kindly reach out to me. Anyhow, I'm gonna share that link over in a thank you email too. So have a great day ahead, and thank you once again for your patient presence.
Thank you.
Thank you.